indeed. Our team coverage continues now from the capital city.
Yeah, Governor Dannel Malloy is awake this morning. He has spoken once. He's going to update the media right now. Let's listen in.
I just want to update everyone. We are getting reports of some continuing large snowfall. As I referenced a little while ago, we had some lightning associated with this storm, which is indicative of a downpour, if you will, of snow, which we were experiencing out in Farmington. Central portion of the state seems to be getting the hardest hit right now. We've already made the decision and informed to the greatest extent that we can our workforce. Not only did we tell the first shift not to come in till 12 o'clock at noon, we've now informed them that only essential employees on the first shift are expected to report to work. They know who they are, so I don't have to go through the litany of that. We are asking that private employers take that into consideration in making their own decisions. Obviously, it is their own decision on when or if to bring in their employees. We do know that it would be a lot easier for us to clear the roads and keep essential traffic moving if people would stay home and stay off the roads. You know, in as much as we expect this storm to clear out of the Hartford area, perhaps in the 8:30 to 9:30 range now, we could use the rest of the day to clean up as much as possible. And I think people also need to consider, if they're proceeding to a open-air parking lot, whether that parking lot's going to be clear for them. With that, we seem to be handling this well. We had about 200 incidences overnight. 4 injuries, none, I don't believe any of those were serious, no fatalities, although as you know there have been 11 fatalities in connection with this storm in other states, primarily in the southern states. We have only one piece of equipment as of an hour ago that had gone down. So we're doing pretty well. The equipment seems to be holding up and in pretty good shape. We got a lot of work to do, but we're going to get it done. And I want to thank people who are being helpful and staying home and complying with our wishes and staying off the road to the greatest extent as possible. With that, the Lieutenant Governor, I'd be happy to take any questions.
200 incidents, you mean traffic?
Traffic spinouts, hitting the middle rail, that sort of stuff.
Now, when you say you said that you would suggest that private business take your lead, but there's no orders of any kind. There's no orders. Right?
No orders, but I think people should look at our lead. At the very least, delayed openings, if not first shift.
What are the
actions.
Utilities reporting to you?
You know, utilities seem to be holding up. The eastern portion of the state, a little bit harder hit. Remember that we're going to see, at least as currently projected, temperatures drop as this storm moves out and wind pick up. So we're going to continue to monitor the electric delivery system for a much longer period of time. But so far, we seem to be holding up pretty well. I just met with the utility people in the last 5 minutes.
Governor, can you talk about if you've gotten any calls from cities or towns into the Emergency Operations Center needing any assistance from the state?
About 8 communities opened up their own emergency centers. We had advised them last night that was up to them. Everything seems to be operating. There is a fair amount of communication between ourselves and those that are operating. We're sharing information as it comes in. I think the nice thing about this storm is that it's moving rapidly, so we're going to have a lot of daylight hour to actually clean this up going into the following day.
What would prompt a state of emergency if it had to go there?
I think if this storm was not fast-moving and we were expecting to experience this kind of delivery of snow for a longer period of time, or had it arrive. Listen, my house is on the corner of Prospect, so I'm right at the border of West Hartford and Hartford. I don't think it started snowing where I was till about 11:30. If it had started at 9:30, that would have been trouble. This thing seems to be moving rapidly. If it doesn't stall, then it seems that we will have experienced a very major snow event, but not one that should cripple us.
So you're getting no reports of any problems on the interstates. I mean, it was coming down really hard.
I work with a guy who came in from Trumbull. He left his house at about 2:30. And no, there's lots of trouble. I mean, no, it's a slow moving. There would be no reason to be on the highway unless you absolutely had to be on the highway. I mean, this is not something to play around with. We had some trucks that were having problems. We had individual cars that are having problems. We had spin-outs. Having said that, traffic is moving primarily in many places, limited to a lane and a half. So there's just no reason to be out there.
The suggestion by the leader of the Motor Transport Association to hold off for truckers, has that been the experience on the interstates? Is there less truck traffic?
I believe that's correct. There's less traffic for a couple of reasons, not the least of which is that much of it was tied up in other states. And this is it's a straw, right? Things have to move through it, and when they stop at one area, they stop in all places. We did take, you made an interesting point. We invited the Truckers Association representatives to be at our meeting yesterday. They joined us. They obviously are concerned about what's going on up and down the East Coast as the storm moved along, and I think it was a great idea to have them involved, and they certainly are attempting to cooperate.
Mayor Batten has ordered people to stay off the roads in Danbury. Any plans or any word that other communities are going to be doing that as well?
I think everybody's urging people to stay off the streets. Or let's put it another way. I haven't heard a single person urging people to get on the streets.
He's actually said no unnecessary traffic.
Yeah. Well, they've gotten a lot of snow. 11 inches of snow as of 5 a.m. I think had fallen in Danbury as I looked at the chart. That's a substantial amount of snow. It's this is a heavier snow than we experienced last week as well. So the people who have to get out and shovel are going to have a hard time as well. It's going to be a messy storm to clean up with, I should say. And one of the other problems is that there are parts of our state where there's already a lot of snow on the ground. So moving the stuff around, particularly when you hit the frozen embankment, is going to be tough. We want to get as much of this cleaned up before the really cold temperatures kick back in. So right now, as I looked at a chart, we were seeing temperatures in the range of 29 to 31, so not above freezing. It's not, although in the eastern part of the state we did see some mixed precipitation, so it's not impossible that we'll get above 32 before we then so things will start to melt before things start to harden with colder temperatures. So we'd like to get as much of this cleaned up as possible.
Governor, are federal employees asked to report to work as well, or are they exempt?
Oh heck, I'm just the governor. I don't.
What about judicial? Have you heard anything from them?
Judicial closed earlier, was my information. They had made that decision. I'm not being facetious. I don't know what federal. I assume that they followed our lead, but I don't know that for sure. Judicial had closed yesterday. They had made the determination at the end of the workday yesterday to close, and obviously we have now followed suit on a permanent basis. As you know, we had given that advisement earlier last night as a delayed. Okay, great. Thank you very much.